So we just got some big news in the world of Batman. DC just announced the new writer and artist duo for the Batman title after Tom King leaves at issue number 85. So a while back, DC announced that Tom King is no longer going to be continuing all the way up to number 100 on the Batman title as he planned. What's happening is he's wrapping up at number 75 with his City of Bane story arc. His whole run's sort of been building towards this final confrontation between Batman and Bane. That's, kind of underwhelming. But DC announced that Tom King is getting another book, Batman/Catwoman. It's going to be a 12-issue maxi series to finish off the rest of his run, which is close to 100 issues. So the question then is, who's taking the Batman book over at 86? And DC has announced that the new writer-artist duo for the Batman title, starting at number 86, is James Tinian and Tony S. Daniel. So let's talk a little bit about how I feel about this. So James Tinian is a really good writer. Once Scott Snyder was doing Batman, Tinian was kind of following in his footsteps and sort of mentoring under him and writing a lot of the annuals for the old Batman during Scott Snyder's run in the New 52. And his issues were always pretty good. I remember there was one, it was during the Endgame story when Joker came back, and Tinian wrote a whole Joker annual, and it was really, really good. And then Tinian, obviously, in Rebirth, took over the Detective Comics title, and that was also, I think, phenomenal. He played a lot with the team book and with the characters. So you had Batman, but you also had Batwoman, Cassandra Cain, Spoiler, Azrael, Batwing, Clayface. I'm probably forgetting someone. Tim Drake. And that was a really, really good team, and I really enjoyed it. It sort of had this epic feel to it that I really liked. It was big on the superheroic sort of side, but still played with detective work. So I thought that run was really, really good. And now he's doing Justice League Dark, which is another phenomenal series. I forget the artist name on that, who we worked with on Detective Comics, but that's been really good as well. So Tinian's a really solid writer, and Tony S. Daniel is obviously a really solid artist. He already has worked a lot with Batman in the past. He's done some work with Tom King during Tom King's run. He did the whole KG Beast arc where Nightwing got shot in the head. Ugh. But he's also, during Grant Morrison's run, he did a little bit. He's done Deathstroke, Teen Titans, a lot of stuff. So really solid artist. So on the surface, you're okay, this is, it's a solid pairing. I like James Tinian. I like Tony S. Daniel. But then you're these people have both worked on Batman before, so it doesn't really seem all that exciting. You have James Tinian, who is a great writer, but he's already worked on the Batman with Detective Comics. You have Tony S. Daniel, who's already done a couple runs with Batman, and he's this sort of generic, even though his art is really, really good, it's very much that generic house art DC style. It's not very stylized. It's great, but it just kind of looks like everything else. So this screams filler to me. To Batman, I think they're going up to Batman 100 or Batman 1000, whatever they're getting to, like they did with Detective 1000. So this just seems sort of padding from that 86 to 1000 or 100, whatever they're doing, sort of thing. It reminds me exactly of after Detective Comics 1000 when they announced Tomasi and Mankey doing the art on the Detective Comics run. Because, it's the exact same thing. Tomasi is a great writer who, I've talked about. His Superman run's amazing. And you have Mankey, who's, again, a phenomenal artist, and just like Tony S. Daniel is one of those house artists. But Tomasi has already written Batman twice before. He had the Batman and Robin run, which was really, really good. And then you have the Detective Comics run, which he worked on when Jim Gordon was the Batman. And that was, sort of the only place you kind of found the Jim Gordon besides the regular Batman title, and that was decent, but again, it just felt like complete filler. He had 24 issues or maybe even less, and then he was off the book. But Tomasi Mankey, they're great, but they just they're a safe choice. They're not really bold, dynamic, or any of that. So I think once you get to the issue 100, I think they're going to switch writer-artist completely. I think this is just a complete fill-in, the Tinian Daniel stuff, because it's cool, but there's no way this is the team that they're sticking with long term. I mean, if they are, then all right. I would love to see Tinian do a whole Batman run, but I'd rather not Daniels on the art, just because he's really good. But we've seen it 1,000 times before, and it's pretty generic. So, but I'm pretty sure they're going to switch 1,000. Another interesting thing is that Tom King, in a recent tweet, said that Nightwing is not coming back in his Batman run. He said that he wanted to get rid of the whole Rick thing and bring Nightwing back for the finale of his Batman run at City of Bane, which I was like, all right, great, less Rick, but get Rick out of here. That would be phenomenal. But that is not happening. However, we have learned that in this James Tinian run that Nightwing is going to come back. So it's been long overdue. This Rick story is unbearable. Like there's decent parts to it, like story-wise. The whole Nightwings thing is fine. The talent is cool, but just why is he Rick? Why would you ever do that? There's no reason. I'm going to make a video on Rick at some point because it's really dumb. But I'm glad to see that Nightwing is finally coming back. It's still been way too long, but at least we're getting it. A shame that he's not going to be involved in Tom King's run at the end of his Batman run, because that would be, cool, because he kind of got shot in the middle of the run, so you figured by the end to be like, oh, he's back. But we're not getting that, so least we can do is when Tinian comes back, we're going to get that Nightwing. So, I'm all for that. I'd rather have Dick Grayson than Rick Grayson any day of the week. So the question is, if this is just filler, and I highly suspect that it is, then who is going to be writing Batman after issue 100? Because I think they said at 100 they're going to do a new reboot and it'll go back to number 1, which, it's fine. So let's sort of see who we think could be the new Batman writer. So one of the writers people were really predicting right after Tom King was announced to leave at 100 is people were very much asking for Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor was kind of off the radar for a little bit at DC. He was doing his Injustice stuff, but didn't really catch anyone's eye until he wrote the Batman Annual number 3 during Tom King's run. And people really liked that arc. It was a solid issue. I loved it. So this sort of got Tom Taylor on the map. And then he did the DC, how do you pronounce this event? DC East? I have no idea how to pronounce it. But again, people really liked that. It's sort of this out of continuity, but he really works well with the characters and he understands what makes them work. So everyone was saying Tom Taylor is going to be writing Batman. Easy. And I would have totally thought, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's what's going to happen. But then Tom Taylor was announced to be doing the Suicide Squad reboot book, which, he can still do Suicide Squad and Batman at once. That makes sense. But I don't think he's going to be writing Batman if he's writing the Suicide Squad book. He might be. He obviously can juggle between multiple titles, but it'd feel weird him coming in and doing 2 new books at once. So that's one possibility, but I don't think it's the most likely. Other people that they've been saying should take over the book, one of which is Bendis taking over the Batman book. Now that would be very interesting. I actually would like to see Bendis take over Batman. I think if you have Brian Michael Bendis writing, and then you have Malieve on art, who's been doing the work for Event Leviathan, and it's super good. That's been a pretty proven, decent team. I don't really love Bendis' writing, but I think it would be cool to see him take on the Dark Knight, but I don't know if I'd want it just yet. You have Bendis writing Superman, Action Comics, Young Justice, Legion of Superheroes. I think he's writing Naomi. So he has 5 other books he's working on right now. So seeing him take over Batman would also be kind of crazy. Not only that, but he's completely in charge of the Superman line right now. He's writing Superman and Action. So to have him write Superman, Action, and Batman all at once would feel kind of weird. You're just sort of getting the same voice out of every single book, which I don't really like. I like a diversity in the line where, the Superman book feels different than the Batman and the Wonder Woman. That's one that people have been talking about. I think it would be interesting, but I don't know if I want that while he's still writing Superman. But hey, you could kick him off Superman and still have him write Action. I'd be fine with that. Someone else wanted to tackle Superman, but I think he's here for the long haul. Then there's all those sort of safe writers that you can kind of put. I feel like Dan Abnett or Steve Orlando would be people that you could see doing it, but wouldn't really be all that exciting. One person I think would be very interesting doing this is Geoff Johns. Now, Geoff Johns is probably not going to be writing Batman. He's doing his own sort of imprint stuff. He's super busy, but he's wrapping up Doomsday Clock, and his only other title he's working on is Shazam, so it's possible. And Geoff Johns, surprisingly, has never written a actual Batman run. He does the Earth 2 Batman books with Gary Frank, and they're really good. But he's never, and he's of course written them in the Justice League, but he's never done an actual Batman book. So I don't know if he has any ideas planned for Batman, But I love Geoff Johns, and I would love to see him write Batman. Heck, he can bring Gary Frank along as long as there's no delays, and that would be really awesome. But that's one that I don't think is going to happen just because he's pushing his new imprint and there's time requirements and all that stuff. Next up, who do we got? Jeff Lemire. I think this might be my number one pick besides like Tom Taylor. I think Jeff Lemire could write a really good Batman run. We've seen him do really good sort of similar stuff over in his Green Arrow run that he had in the New 52, it wasn't Green Arrow at all. At that time, like Green Arrow was just sort of like Batman Light, sort of like Arrow the TV show, which basically just ripped off the whole Dark Knight series and the Nolan films. But Jeff Lemire is really good. He's writing Terrifics now, and that's a good time. But my dream team that I would love for the Batman title would be Jeff Lemire writing and Sorrentino, who worked with him in the New 52 Green Arrow run, tackling Batman. I don't remember if Sorrentino has an exclusive with Marvel, but if that's not the case, I think that pair on Batman would be super interesting. It's a very stylized art, very good writing. I think that would be a good pair. I'm trying to think of who else could take over the title right now. You could have Kelly Sue DeConnick, who's writing Aquaman, who just switched over to DC. She could take a shot at it. I haven't been catching up with the Aquaman recently. I kind of dropped off during the Amnesia stuff, and I need to pick it back up. I've heard great things, though, so I could see her writing Batman. I don't know. Who else do you guys think? Are there any other options? I mean, maybe people who aren't even in DC. I mean, I'm excited for James Tinian. He's going to write a couple good issues, but I don't think he's sticking all the way past the reboot. I think they're going to find someone new. This entire, James Tinian, Tony Daniel thing, I think it's just going to be filler. That seems like the most obvious thing to me. It's a good writer and a good artist, but is this going to be one of the defining Batman runs of all time? Probably not. Say what you want about Tom King's run, but at least it's very stylized and it has a voice to it and it feels like an event. Not an event that I'm terribly interested in, but, for some people it is. I'm very interested to see what we're going to get with more Batman news in the future, who's going to be taking over this book in the future, because there's not that many writers that can really tackle it right now. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, who you guys want to write the book, who you want to do the art. I think the art's really interesting too, because there's a lot of house artists at DC right now. I don't know if there's anyone who hasn't really tackled Batman before that I'd like to see. Definitely Alex Maleev, how do you say his name? I don't know. But the person who's been working on Event Leviathan with Bendis, super good. So I would love to see him on the art. But other than that, let me know what you guys think. Do you like James Tinian? Do you like Tony S. Daniel? Who do you want to write Batman afterwards? Just let me know in the comments. This is what I'm super interested in. So I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. See you guys later.